Well, it is a big day for the Portland Trail Blazers. The NBA draft happens in 1 hour. The Blazers have the third overall pick and a decision that will have lasting implications for the franchise.
Plus, gas prices have gone up more than 30 cents a gallon across the Northwest over the last month. And experts say that's led to a spike in gas thefts across Washington.
And it appears to be a tragic ending to the search for 5 men inside a missing submarine in the North Atlantic. Today, the Coast Guard found debris along the ocean floor. All passengers are presumed dead. Welcome to KGW News at 4. I'm Ashley Korsland.
And I'm Brittany Folkers. The Coast Guard says the Titan submersible likely imploded, killing everyone on board. A Coast Guard drone discovered a debris field in the ocean floor this morning, not far from the ruins of the Titanic. Analysts identified 5 different pieces of the Titan. That includes the tail cone and sections of the pressure chamber, which was the sitting area for the 5 men on board.
The Titan went missing on Sunday after embarking on a mission to survey the wreckage of the Titanic. Crews will now work to gather whatever debris they can and hopefully figure out what went wrong. Well, people who live in southeast Portland's Mill Park neighborhood are now safe to leave their homes.
All day, police had told people inside a specific apartment building to shelter in place while they searched for those involved in an early morning shooting. That order was lifted about 2 hours ago. Blair Best is live near Southeast 148th and Stark, and Blair, detectives are still on scene sorting all this out.
Brittany, Ashley, the shooting happened just before 1 o'clock this morning, and police have been on scene for most of the day. In the end, they detained 8 juveniles who were hiding inside an apartment building behind me. Now, this search was long and drawn out today, but those who live in this community say they weren't surprised. Late Wednesday night, Portland police responded to the latest shooting in deep southeast, a neighborhood where this type of violence is becoming routine.
I'm getting a little tired of living in Dodge City.
Police responded to a shooting on Southeast 146th Avenue and Stark Street, where 2 people were injured and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Officers then saw the suspects run into a nearby apartment building on the next street over. Police surrounded that building.
I just kind of walked through and just saw all the cop cars, all the cameras.
Dakota works in the strip mall that acted as a base for police throughout most of the day.
There seems like there's always a lot of shootings going on around southeast. So I hate to say I'm used to it, but I'm more acclimated to it. It doesn't really shock me.
In this case, Portland police detained 8 juveniles. They were hiding inside an apartment. Police spent hours searching the building slowly and carefully, using a remote control device and CERT team. Nearby residents were told to shelter in place. That order lifted around 2 Thursday afternoon, once the building was cleared.
I don't know what to think about the juveniles. We seem to have lost all control over the kids.
It's just another day in Portland.
This type of violence, something Leo and his young family are escaping.
We're moving. We're moving next week.
Others, like Brandon Welch, are taking a different approach to protecting themselves.
I had to purchase my first firearm, because I'm afraid, for my kids, the safety of, my family. I have 4 kids, I got a wife,
Meanwhile, down the street, a group of activists posted these signs calling for peace.
We want Portland to do better, and we want people in Portland to be happy and to be able to have an environment where they can survive and flourish.
Now, Southeast 148th and Stark is now back open, and police have not made any arrests, but again, 8 juveniles have been detained. Brittany, Ashley.
Blair, thank you for the update. Police are investigating a terrifying and violent home invasion in Gladstone. They say a suspect broke into a home last night and attacked a woman inside. She was left bleeding on the floor with puncture wounds to her head and her body. Mike Benner joins us, and Mike, you talked with the victim's mother about this.
Yeah, I did, Ashley, and she did not want to go on camera, but told me she lives at the home with her daughter and her 2 grandsons. She is beyond rattled by what happened. She says barking dogs alerted her to a problem. She got out of bed to investigate, and that is when she found her adult daughter lying on the floor bleeding. This happened around 2:15 this morning at a home near the corner of Crownview Drive and Crownview Court in Gladstone. Authorities tell us the intruder got into the home through an unlocked sliding glass door on the back deck. At this point, it's unclear if this was a random attack or targeted. Regardless, the suspect assaulted a woman in the home, maybe with a hammer, then took off. Responding officers from Gladstone PD, Oregon City PD, and the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office searched for the suspect with canines and drones, but they came up empty. The chief of police in Gladstone tells me this home invasion is unusual, but for the victim and her family,
probably terrifying, without a doubt, a lot of trauma. The first aid, the victim still in the hospital, non-life-threatening injuries, thank God, but her family's still having to deal with this, and she's going to be recovering for a while.
And our thoughts are certainly with the victim. We understand that because it was dark at the time of the attack, the victim did not get a great look at the suspect, but she believes he was stocky and possibly wearing a mask. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Gladstone Police Department. Brittany?
All right. Wow, Mike, thank you so much for that update. Well, it is day 4 of a planned 5-day strike by Providence healthcare nurses and clinicians. And today, those on the picket line got support from the leader of a national union. At the same time, Providence officials gave an update on how things are going with replacement workers this week. Tim Gordon is live at Providence, Portland, where the picketing continues today. Tim.
Yeah, hey, Brittany, in the heat of the afternoon, they're still out here at Northeast 47th and Gleason, and they're getting their message out that Providence, they say, needs to offer more to give them a fair contract. Well, altogether, there are about 1,800 nurses and clinicians on strike at Providence Portland and Providence Seaside out at the coast, along with home health care and hospice workers. So Providence brought in replacement nurses and told us that as of Tuesday, Providence Portland has been able to accept transfers for higher levels of care and open its NICU unit. At Seaside, labor and delivery services are up and running again as well. So in other words, they're getting by. And out on the picket lines, nurses are getting fired up. As you can see, they say they are asking for equity in wages and benefits and working conditions with other nurses in the health system, namely those working at St. Vincent Medical Center on the west side. And today they had help from the president of the 1.7 million member American Federation of Teachers, which also represents nurses with over 200,000 health professionals nationwide.
Every one of our members is standing behind you and supporting you and having your back because you have all of our backs. Thank you.
So another day of strike before nurses go back to work 7 a.m. Saturday morning. Those contract workers will be out. The union nurses will be back in, but still without a deal. I'm back here live at Providence, Portland. I can tell you that most all of the Democrats' congressional delegation sent out a letter just urging Providence and the Nurses Association, Oregon Nurses Association, urging them to get back together, negotiate, and get a fair deal for the nurses. So we'll keep you posted on that. No date that we're aware of has been set for negotiations to pick back up. Back to you.
All right, Tim, thank you.
Well, it's an aggressive move to fight climate change. Multnomah County leaders are suing some of the world's largest fossil fuel companies, blaming them for the heat dome that killed dozens of Oregonians in 2021. Environmental reporter Kale Williams was at the courthouse when leaders announced the lawsuit.
With that vote Thursday morning,
the resolution is adopted.
Multnomah County leaders officially declared climate change a public nuisance. And that may sound innocuous, but it cleared the way for the county to bring a lawsuit against 17 of the biggest fossil fuel companies in the world, like Chevron, Exxon, and BP. Specifically, the county is seeking damages for the 2021 heat dome, which saw temperatures spike to 116 degrees in Portland, killing nearly 70 people and sending hundreds more to area hospitals.
With this action, we seek to hold these fossil fuel companies accountable for the damages that have arisen from one of the most deadly and destructive human-made weather disasters in American history.
The county is seeking $50 million in damages from the heat dome, as well as $1.5 billion for future damages from climate change. On top of that, the county is asking for an abatement fund, estimated to be $50 billion, to upgrade health services and infrastructure, which are expected to come under increasing strain as the effects of climate change become more extreme.
The climate crisis is costing us money today and will cost us more money in the future as we try to adapt. We are not looking for a payout, we are looking to be paid back.
Now, this is not the first time a city or county has sued oil and gas companies over climate change. But while few of those cases have gone to trial, Roger Worthington, who is representing the county, said this case is different because it focuses on one event that a number of studies have definitively linked to climate change.
We, Multnomah County, get to have the opportunity to bring those fossil fuel giants, those miscreants, into this courtroom. They're not going to want to be here. They're going to want to delay this thing out. You mark my words. They are masters at delay and deflection.
Worthington was realistic, though, about how quickly this case will move. He acknowledged that the fossil fuel companies are well known for delay tactics involving this type of litigation.
We usually go into a case and we hire experts to basically prove our case. The experts are already out there. The scientific community is very, very strong and unanimous on this.
But if and when this case does make it to trial, we'll bring you the latest here and on KGW.com. Cale Williams, KGW News.
Well, if you feel like you've been paying more for gas lately, you are right. Oregonians, for example, paying an average of $4.59 a gallon. That is up 42 cents from just a month ago.
It's even higher in Washington with an average of $5 a gallon. That's up 34 cents from last month. And right now, Washington has the highest gas prices in the country. Some say that's led to more gas thefts. Listen to this. Tuesday, a woman in western Washington found that someone had drilled a hole in her gas tank. She found an empty milk jug and smelled gas near her car.
I would be happy to buy somebody a gallon of gas. Just don't drill my gas tank.
The bill to replace her gas tank is more than $1,300. As for what's spiking our gas prices, experts say Washington's gas price surge is due to the state's new carbon pricing program that charges businesses for the greenhouse gases they emit.
Well, after 70 years, Oregonians are a signature away from being able to pump their own gas whenever they want to.
Yeah, yesterday the Senate passed HB 2460 with bipartisan support. It gives all Oregonians the option of pumping their own gas for the first time since 1951. That's a big change. The bill will not eliminate attendants. Stations have to make half of their pumps available for attendants to serve customers who want help, and stations can't offer discounts to customers who pump their own gas. Fred Simmons is an attendant at this Chevron near PSU. He says when they're short-handed, many customers want the option to pump their own gas.
It will help. And even still, when it's busy and they impatient, they'll get out and do their own anyway.
The bill now heads to the governor's desk. If she signs it, the new law will take effect right away. That would leave New Jersey as the only state restricting drivers from pumping their own gas. Up next here at 4, you know that 80s song, Video Killed the Radio Star? Well, now the question is, will AI end the radio DJ? We get a look at the experiment one local station's trying.
Plus, draft day is here. The Blazers face a big decision, and they'll really only have about 5 minutes to make it.
And summer is here, the first full day of summer, and it is glorious here across the Northwest. A live look from Cannon Beach along the North Oregon coast. Clouds building offshore. It is sunny there for now. It's 85 right now here in Portland. Your full forecast comes up after the break.
Artificial intelligence is becoming a bigger presence in our everyday lives, but now it's hitting the airwaves.
Yeah, a Portland radio station just debuted an AI DJ who talks between pop songs. Thomas Schultz got to see how this all works. Thomas, this is really interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And AI Ashley is actually modeled after Ashley Elzinga, a Michigan-based radio host who will have her voice replicated. Programmers say AI Ashley is the first AI radio DJ in the world. Some are excited for the increased role of artificial intelligence. Others are wary of the potential negative impacts.
Hey Portland, it's AI Ashley on Live 95.5.
Many listeners of Live 95.5 may not notice the change, but a new voice made its debut over the airwaves on June 13th, and it sounds remarkably similar to radio host Ashley Z.
Today I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. So let's see how close the AI sounds to me. Today I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. Let's see how close the AI sounds to me.
Elzinga says it took months to develop AI Ashley before she made her debut earlier this month. Content director Dylan Salisbury says AI Ashley can update Portlanders on major news in the area at any time of day. Elzinga, who is based in Traverse City, Michigan, can't do that. Salisbury says the goal isn't to replace Elzinga as DJ, but to use AI Ashley as an alter ego to the host.
We really like the idea of kind of an angel and devil, and Eminem and Slim Shady kind of dynamic between
Did you? Even host Ashley Z hears her own Midwestern accent in the AI version of herself.
That sounds like me. I guess I have the day off.
Days off are something some experts worry about.
Companies will eliminate jobs with AI if they can.
Carrie Tomlinson is a cyber news reporter. She says AI is estimated to destroy 300 million jobs worldwide.
For any human being, it is scary to know that the job that you're doing, especially if you enjoy it, could be eliminated.
But Tomlinson says AI can create innovative ideas that benefit the world. Portland State computer engineering professor Christoph Tuscher says AI will change the way people work.
It's a tool for me, and I think it's a bit like a hammer, right? You can use it for good or for bad.
He says the technology should be embraced, albeit with more regulation. But so far, Tuscher says U.S. regulation lags behind Europe. In a national artificial intelligence plan released by the White House in May, the report states an expansive AI research and development program is needed to ensure AI is used ethically and legally. Tuscher says that's because AI isn't going away.
It's impossible to sort of stop.
As regulation evolves, Elzinga stresses the unique possibilities of AI.
There are good people who are working really, really hard on this new and fresh thing who do not mean to use it for bad. We want to use it for good, and this can be fun. This can be exciting.
In the White House's artificial intelligence plan, it says there is an immediate need to identify ways to effectively govern AI intelligence while mitigating risk. But while that undertaking is underway, more industries continue to incorporate AI. Brittany, Ashley.
All right, thanks so much, Thomas.
Well, hey, let's talk sports now. Blazers fan, the day is finally here. The NBA draft is less than 1 hour away.
Yeah, and Portland has the 3rd overall pick, and this decision could change the face of the franchise going forward. Orlando Sanchez is at the Blazers practice facility. So Orlando, this is a big day for Rip City.
Not an understatement, that's for sure, Brittany. This is the most pivotal offseason, at least arguably, in Portland Trail Blazers history. Surely the most important draft of the Damian Lillard era. They have their best pick since 2007. The stakes are enormous for the Portland Trail Blazers as they hit the clock here. And now right over my shoulder is where the war room will be, and that's where Trailblazers brass will have that decision to make. And oh, would I love to be a fly on the wall, especially after the Hornets make their pick at number 2 and the Trailblazers are on the clock. And that's when they'll know what player they're going to select or have available to select, as well as sift through all of those offers that could be on the table for a trade. And to make things even more spicy, they'll have a 5-minute window to make that decision. So we are 1 hour away from the start of the NBA draft and when the Portland Trail Blazers will be on the clock. The question we've been asking for the past month is, what will the Trailblazers do with the 3rd overall pick? We know what Damian Lillard wants to do. He's not interested in young players. They're going to take time to develop. He wants veterans who can help win now. General manager Joe Cronin has said they want to build a roster around Lillard. But what if they can't get a trade done, or they don't like the offers out there? They can't just trade the pick for the sake of making a trade. The guys available at number 3 could be game changers, whether that's G League point guard Scoot Henderson, who's drawing comparisons to former MVPs, or Alabama forward Brandon Miller, who is arguably the best player in college basketball, who actually fits a position of need. It's a legitimate dilemma. The fan base has been torn about it. The front office is trying to thread the needle, trying to keep the face of the franchise happy and be competitive, as well as think about the future of the Portland Trail Blazers. So as I mentioned, guys, this all goes down at 5 o'clock. Back to you.
All right, we are anticipantly waiting. That's
yes,
not a word, is it?
It could be. It could
so
be.
much anticipation. Yeah, exactly.
Anticipatingly?
We're
just
deal.
journalists. No big deal.
We should spend 2 minutes talking about it. It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Super excited about what lie ahead for
the Rip City, man. Yeah,
all of us.
You know what we're excited about? This glorious forecast. The sun. Let's see. Let's look.
Yes,
oh yeah.
It is out. I've got a little time lapse rolling on this too, because it's kind of fun to watch the puffy fair weather cumulus clouds bouncing up over Mount Jefferson, that is the live look from Mount Hood from Timberline Lodge. Our camera focused to the south, and you can see that cumulus field popping up. Here's the visible satellite imagery, and during the heat of the day, and of course after the rain that we had earlier in the week, enough moisture in the air to kind of get those clouds popping just a little bit. You'll note the Willamette Valley and the I-5 corridor is cloud-free right now, and we will stay cloud-free for the rest of this afternoon. It's currently 86 degrees at PDX. That represents our high for the day. We may yet sneak another degree or two higher before we shut off the quote-unquote daytime heating, but a warm day for sure, and easily the warmest day of this week. And you know what? The warmest day in my 7-day forecast as well. Despite this being the first full day of summer, we don't have any blistering heat waves on the horizon, so I'm happy to share that with you. Just some really, really pleasant. I mean, this is the Northwest at its best here. 75 right now in Baker City. Bend checking in with 79. Eugene and Roseburg in the upper 80s. They are likely to hit 90 degrees here before the day is done. So one or two hot spots, I guess, relative, right? As we give you the big picture here across the Northwest, we've got some cloud cover and some showers now starting to pop across the Central Oregon Cascades, and also some thunderstorms popping up north of Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams, up kind of focused on the Mount Rainier area. We can give you a little closer look at that over the last couple of hours, and the instability is certainly there. So we're targeting Central Washington, also the Olympic Peninsula, with afternoon showers and thunderstorms. I'm pointing that out because it's possible that parts of the metro area and the Oregon and Washington Cascades tomorrow run into that thunderstorm threat. And I've got that in my forecast for tomorrow, probably a degree or two cooler for tomorrow afternoon's daytime highs. I'm kind of hedging my bets on how fast the clouds pop up, but there is enough of a chance here to mention that we could get a little wet tomorrow afternoon. Here's a look at Futurecast. Our modeling doing a nice job of picking up those thunderstorms, by the way, in the southern and Central Oregon Cascades. It wants to have some of these kind of push in towards portions of Lane County as well. It's also picking up some of the storms in the Central Washington Cascades. Meanwhile, the remainder of Oregon remains dry overnight. Fast forwarding Futurecast into early tomorrow morning, the onshore flow kicks in. The clouds, will kick up at the coast, so the beaches will wake up with morning clouds. And as that breeze kind of works its way inland during the afternoon tomorrow, that I think is going to present at least the chance for some thunderstorms here in the metro area and along the spine of the Cascades. So, of course, a big getaway day for a weekend, the first weekend of summer. Maybe folks got some camping plans up in the mountains. Just be aware of that. And here in the metro area, if our model is exactly right, it is focusing on the Portland-Vancouver metro for an afternoon thunderstorm. So with that in mind, my 7-day forecast does feature at least the chance of a storm tomorrow afternoon with a high of 84. After that, we are dry and the weather is very boring, and boring is a good thing this time of the year. Ladies, we are waking up to temperatures in the upper 50s, high temperatures in the 80s through the weekend and through much of next week.
Ooh, I like that. Thanks so much, Chris.
Well, test scores for teens are at their lowest mark in decades. Ahead, find out how Oregon and Washington stack up to the rest of the country.
A message of unity today at the White House. The Prime Minister of India visits President Biden and Congress ahead of a state dinner tonight. After nearly getting canceled, the special graduation ceremony for Native American students happened last night in Western Washington.
That's a tradition that dates back decades. It was held on the land of the Suquamish people. Every June, the North Kitsap School District recognizes graduating students affiliated with tribes. Last night, it honored 13 Native American students. But this ceremony almost didn't happen. Just a couple months ago, the superintendent proposed canceling this year's event to save the district money, citing revenue drops because of a decline in attendance. That idea instantly prompted pushback, and the superintendent agreed to move forward with the ceremony.
I wish we had engaged in it in a different way so that I could have learned through my heart instead of through the budget sheet.
Now, this year's event was hosted at the district headquarters.
And now at 4:30, the worst possible outcome in the search for a missing submersible in the North Atlantic. All passengers are presumed dead after the Coast Guard found debris along the ocean floor this morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Korsland.
And I'm Brittany Folkers. The recovery effort is our top story here at 4:30. NBC's Jay Gray breaks down what's been an emotional day in the Atlantic Ocean.
Scanning the ocean floor, a remotely operated vehicle captures images of debris less than a half-mile from the bow of the Titanic.
We found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan.
Analysts identifying the tail cone and sections of the pressure chamber, essentially the sitting area for those on board.
The debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there.
Trying to understand how, why, and when it happened. OceanGate, the company that operates the sub, acknowledging the tragic discovery in a written statement, calling the 5 men that were a part of the expedition British businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, French diver Paul-Henri Nargeolet, billionaire adventurer Hamish Harding, and the pilot, OceanGate founder and CEO Stockton Rush, quote, true explorers who shared a distinct spirit of adventure and deep passion for exploring. Going on to say, we grieve the loss of life and joy they brought to everyone they knew. The Coast Guard reaching out to their families.
I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time.
It's early in what's now a recovery mission. The aircraft and ships that have been a part of the search expected to clear the area, while the underwater assets will continue to search for evidence along the ocean's floor. Jay Gray, NBC News, Boston.
The loss of the submersible and the 5 lives aboard will be a major focus of NBC Nightly News. That all starts in less than 1 hour, right after KGW News at 5 o'clock. Well, tonight the White House is hosting India's Prime Minister for a state dinner. It's part of a busy tour to our nation's capital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered remarks at the joint session of Congress this afternoon. During his congressional address, Prime Minister Modi touched on the partnership between the U.S. and India, adding that as the partnership progresses, so will the economy and innovation.
A new report shows math and reading scores for 13-year-olds at the lowest in decades. As Stephanie Gosk reports, it's a crisis educators say will have ripple effects for years. A lot of thanks to COVID-19.
Across all regions and affecting all kids, new test scores show dramatic learning loss. The single largest drop in math scores for 13-year-olds since the National Assessment of Educational Progress began 50 years ago. Down 9 points from 2019 before the pandemic to the fall of 2022. Reading is not much better, down 4 points.
This is a crisis that America cannot ignore. The long-term educational crisis facing our students has by far outpaced the physical threat that COVID ever presented to them.
Alberto Carvalho is the superintendent for LA Unified School District, the second largest in the country, where they are focusing on summer school, teacher training, and a longer school year to make up lost ground.
The recovery needs to be swift, needs to be strategic, with the right investments and the right approaches to teaching kids.
Maryland middle school teacher Shannon O'Connor says many of her students are no longer engaged.
There still has to be some expectation of responsibility on the student's part. And for a large chunk of them, that has kind of gone to the wayside.
How difficult is it to get them back on track if you don't have that buy-in?
It's really hard. We try to make it as fun as possible while still keeping to our content and the standards that we have to teach.
An age group way behind heading into the critical high school years, with a school system still struggling to get them ready. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
So we looked at the latest numbers state by state, and these are done specifically by grade here in our region. In this case, 8th grade rather than age. Oregon students scored a 270 in mathematics. That's down 10 points from 3 years ago. Reading scores came in at 257, down 7 points from 2020. Both are below the national average. The numbers are higher in Washington, but also down from 2020. Students there scored 276 in math, down 10 points. Reading scores came in at 262, down 4 points from 2020. Washington students do remain above the national average.
The Federal Trade Commission is now suing Amazon, saying it tricked users to sign up for Amazon Prime, then made it extremely tough for people to cancel subscriptions. The lawsuit follows a 2-year investigation. So the agency accuses Amazon of using what it calls, quote, manipulative, coercive, or deceptive user interface designs known as dark patterns to trick consumers. The lawsuit filed just yesterday is the latest part of a broader effort by regulators to limit the power of tech companies.
This is a big signal to the rest of the tech companies that you better clean up your act
make it easier for people to unsubscribe, make sure customers know what they are getting and what they're signing up for.
Well, Amazon says the FTC's claims are false and that it's both clear and simple for customers to sign up and cancel their Prime memberships.
Still to come on KGW News at 4. If you're planning to take a trip this summer, don't forget about travel health insurance. How to make sure you're protected in the chance you're injured while on vacation.
Healthier Together, sponsored by Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon.
We need to invest in our health just as much as we invest in our trip.
Summer vacation season has arrived, and while you're planning your next trip, make sure your health insurance is part of all that prep. In today's Healthier Together, we're going to go over some important reminders so that an unexpected health event while you're away doesn't turn into an even bigger financial problem.
Important to know before you go.
I sat down with Renee Balsinger with Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon.
You know, the typical things that happen mostly are falls and fractures, getting car accidents, a lot of respiratory, and a lot of heart. Those are the top things we see when people are, outside of the service area.
No matter where you're going, there are some key things to keep in mind. Make sure to bring your health insurance ID card. Download your health insurer's app, and Balsinger suggests that you take a photo of your prescriptions with the correct dosage.
Short trips around the state, we always feel a little more comfortable because we're not that far away from home, so just to have those basics.
So when traveling within the U.S., your personal health insurance should cover an illness or injury while on a trip, but Balsinger suggests a quick call to customer service for questions. Now, if you're traveling outside the U.S., your insurance plan will provide zero to very little coverage, and Medicare isn't accepted abroad. So it's a good idea to sign up for additional coverage.
Many times in many countries, they're going to make you pay up front. There is no insurance piece to it. Is you pay me to get this care or to move you from one facility to another. Otherwise, we're not doing it.
And even more expensive than medical treatment is an emergency medical evacuation. A medevac and transportation can cost anywhere from $15,000 to more than $200,000.
And to have an extra medical policy, it can help you out quite a bit.
We have links to more information about travel medical coverage at kgw.com/healthiertogether.
Well, coming up next on KGW News at 4, a hiking partner you might not expect to see on the trail. Meet the cats and their human who enjoy the outdoors together.
I mean, why not? You see people in Portland walking their cats on a leash, right? Let's take you outside right now. The live look from our Wells Fargo sky camera. You see some puffy fair weather cumulus clouds out there. If you look way off in the distance, there are some pretty good thunder showers popping over the central Washington Cascades. Perhaps a sign of things to come for us tomorrow. Right now it's 86 degrees. I've got your forecast after the break.
But it is that time again for us to get out there. And today we're going on a hike with some unusual participants.
Yeah, John Goodwin takes us to the gorge for a hiking first. Yeah, the cat's out of the bag, or should we say in the bag?
You never know what you'll see on the trail. It's got a lot of elevation to it. It's a lot busier than I was going to guess.
For Katie Werback, it's a perfect day for a hike at Waklala Falls in the gorge.
Yeah, let's go with Waklala Falls.
It's actually Lieutenant Colonel Werback. She's the deputy commander of the Portland District Army Corps of Engineers. You might say her pack has 10 essentials and 9 lives.
2 of them, one shy, one not.
So I guess that makes 18 lives. Rosie and Kittleson are along for the ride.
This one is Rosie. She's a 4.5-year-old Siberian forest cat. And this one is Kittleson. He's a 2-year-old rescue. Good morning.
Katie's cats have been to 4 national parks and joined her on many other outings, as family members do.
She hasn't had her fill of grass in a while. Sir, you have a claw on my neck. I think the funniest ones are the people that don't notice and they just walk right on by. And the ones that do notice, you can tell because the pitch goes up. And they go, wee, kitties!
Oh yeah! Oh, that's so cute.
What do you think?
Oh my God, they're so cute.
They're not doing the hiking today, but that's okay. They're out doing the adventure.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, big deal, cats on the trail. With the crowds, the noise, and the dogs, Rosie is training to become a registered therapy cat.
Which is not an emotional support or anything else. It's liability insurance, really, so that we can visit hospitals or assisted living or even workplaces for 1 to 2 hours and just have her as a visitor where people can pet her and she'll sit on their lap and just be really comfortable. She loves it. He's a little more stressed out today, but that's okay. Not interested, too noisy. Weird situations, I think, is good for both of them. I think it's same for anybody of you grow through new things that you haven't tried before.
For indoor cats, these two did pretty well, for the most part, staying in their safe space. Why does Katie bring them along on her adventures?
So they get to experience the joy of life. It's house isn't that big. They like to ack at the birds. And so this gets them out to experience something more than those four walls.
In the Gorge, I'm John Goodwin.
And once again, the cats are a hit.
Let's get out there.
Oh, wow. Look at that tennis ball sized hail that was falling last night in Denver. This video is of people trying to take cover at an outdoor concert. This was at the Red Rocks Amphitheater. Yeah. Wow. So 7 people, it turns out, went to the hospital after getting hit by hail. And then some 90 more had to be treated for injuries at the scene. That is wild stuff right there. Large hail.
You know, it takes like a 75 mile an hour updraft in a thunderstorm, like wind going up in a thunderstorm about 75 miles an hour to generate hail that big.
Wow.
Yeah, so that gives you some idea of just how intense those storms were along the front range of the
that
Rockies
pelted you in the
yesterday.
head, and that would cause some damage.
That's the thing. Some of the videos I saw are just so intense. I mean, imagine you're at a concert. The Red Rocks is a really big amphitheater, and then boom, weather like that. That's just wild.
Yeah, that's why I only go on nice days.
Good job.
We may, not a hail like that, but we may see some thunderstorms in our forecast tomorrow. Let's get to the weather wall real quick, and I'll show you what's popping this afternoon across the central Washington Cascades, across the Olympic Peninsula, and now in the last couple of frames in the southern Oregon Cascades into, far southern Lane County here and points south. And we'll take a little look at the lightning strike data here over the last little while. You can see numerous lightning strikes now up in Washington and down across the southern Oregon Cascades and the Cascade foothills. That's what's going on right now. And you can see on our visible satellite imagery the puffy fair-weather cumulus cloud here over the central Oregon Cascades. But you get down towards the south and they get a lot more puffy. And that's why we're seeing the thunderstorm development. The intense updrafts are kind of breaking through and giving us enough oomph in the atmosphere to give us those showers. That may happen here in the Willamette Valley tomorrow. I'm going to show you why here in just a second. Let's go ahead and show you, for starters, the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. We are not expecting severe weather tomorrow. This green shading, though, does mean at least the possibility for thunderstorms anywhere along and east of this boundary. So that pretty much correlates with the I-5 corridor, the Willamette Valley into the Cascades and points east. So that's a lot of real estate here across Oregon and Washington for tomorrow. Let's show you the setup. This evening, our model, again, picking up on some of those central Washington and southern Oregon Cascade thunderstorms right now. Those will fizzle as we lose the sunshine and the heating of the day. Fast forwarding into early tomorrow. Of course, it was a warm day here in the Willamette Valley, right? Temperatures pushing 90 in some cases. We're going to get a pretty good onshore push tonight. That will manifest itself in the form of low cloud cover at the Oregon coast tomorrow morning. That'll burn off, but the onshore breeze will kick up during the afternoon. This is Futurecast tomorrow, and you can see Hillsborough seeing wind gusts 20 plus miles an hour out of the west. That's one of the key ingredients that may do just enough to focus that instability here across parts of the area tomorrow. So I point this out because Futurecast is putting a bullseye over East Portland and Vancouver tomorrow at 5 o'clock. I don't want you to get too focused on exactly where that is. That really could be anywhere up and down the I-5 corridor from Marion County up into Clark County, right? But the point is that there's enough of a chance to mention. Why am I spending all this time to talk about that? Because that's the only thing going on in our forecast. Otherwise, it is boring, and boring is a good thing this time of the year, right? Let's take you to the beach. Morning clouds, the afternoon sunshine. Temperatures in the 60s for highs in Astoria. The Columbia River Gorge sees a slight chance of afternoon storms tomorrow. The Dow is still pretty toasty, up around 86. Cascade freezing levels tomorrow around 10,000 feet. There's a better chance of storms in the Cascades. They may be a little more widespread. I bring that up because, of course, as we go into the first weekend of summer, a lot of folks might have some camping plans up there, so just be aware of that tomorrow afternoon. Same story with the mountain thunderstorm chance across central Oregon. Otherwise, I think the lower elevations will be just fine. Our Futurecast shows temperatures early tomorrow morning, tipping down into the upper 50s here in town. We warm back up into the lower 80s. Futurecast holds us at 81. I'm going to go 84. Why the difference? It's minimal, right? But at least are modeling suggesting the cloud cover builds in enough that could get the storms popping in the afternoon for some of us. Not everybody will see one. In fact, that's why we're going slight chance of storms. But if I don't mention it,
You've been warned.
I spent a lot of time covering my bases here, but like we said, otherwise the forecast is just high and dry for the next 7 days.
The second you don't mention it and somebody gets upset. So.
Get an email or 300.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Chris.
All right, time for a little bit of today's good stuff, right? Some dedicated volunteers and a pair of adult birds are helping to save 2 orphaned chicks in Central Oregon. They're American kestrels, a type of falcon whose population has been declining. The babies were found in a bale of hay that had recently been transported into a new farm. With no sign of the mother, the person who found them brought them to Think Wild, a nonprofit in Bend that works to rehab wild animals. They were able to find an existing kestrel nest in the area where 2 parents were already taking care of 3 of their own chicks. Volunteers say kestrels will foster orphaned birds if they're a similar age to their own babies. The group then put the orphaned chicks in the nest with their new family, and they're hopeful that they'll be taken care of until they're ready to branch out on their own. Such a sweet story.
Yeah.
And be sure to tune in every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. for more positive stories from our community on The Good Stuff.
And still to come here at 4 o'clock, these cats are cute, sure, but they also have enough money to take care of themselves. A judge says, though, they can't live in their mansion alone anymore. This seems like a really interesting story. Stay tuned. We'll have that coming up. So in Florida, 7 cats are now up for adoption. A judge decided that they can no longer live by themselves in their $2.5 million home. This is bizarre.
Yeah, let's explain this here a bit. So their human was Nancy Sauer, who passed away 6 months ago. Her will stipulated that her Tampa home, valued at $2.5 million, could not be sold until the last of her 7 cats died and that they each receive an inheritance. They had been living at the home by themselves since her passing, with someone checking up on them several times a day. But last month, a probate judge decided it would be best if someone took care of Cleopatra, Goldfinger, Leo, Midnight, Napoleon, Snowball, and Squeaky full-time. The cats probably need humans to be bossing around as well. We know cats. The Humane Society is hoping to find someone who will take all 7 of these cats, and there's some good incentive too.
If you adopt, she left money to fund all the vet care, all the grooming, all the food, whatever these cats need, we're going to take care of because of Nancy's bequest.
Yeah, the Humane Society has at least $300,000 Nancy set aside to cover the cost of care for the cats for the rest of their lives. Staffers are reviewing more than 100 adoption applications for the rich felines. The cat's house, well, that'll have to wait to be sold.
I can't say I've heard a story quite like that
I've never
before.
heard of anything like that.
You know, lots of interesting stories though. Maybe like that, I guess, in our community, maybe not. But if you know of something, a story we should tell, a person we should profile, or a cat perhaps, text us at 503-226-5088. We would love to hear from you.